Hey guys, so I'm going to talk about the Lamine Yamal situation. Now you may be wondering, what situation is that? Because, as I often am, I'm late to the party in talking about this, but I imagine the thumbnail gives it away. So I was scrolling on Instagram not too long ago and I saw that Lamine Yamal had been on holiday with this 29-year-old influencer, and that had caused an issue amongst people because of the massive age gap. Now, it's obvious from the post that when they've been on holiday, there's some sexual or romantic intention between the parties. But he's not to blame for that because he's 17, which is a kid. And I think that she should know better. I think that she should know better. I happen to agree with the people who are saying that this is predatory. Now, some people have said, well, she just wants him for his money. And that may be the case. But the reason I still think that this is creepy is because, well, first of all, there's a lot of people that will go for somebody because they want the money, but they don't go for 17-year-olds. So that suggests to me that either she genuinely has an interest in boys of this age, or she's so void of morality that she is prepared to bring into question in the public eye her sexual predilections just because she wants access to that attention and potentially his finances as well. So either way, it's immoral and it's creepy. Now, she seems to be more interested in getting people to understand that she's actually 29 and not 30 as she's being referred to. But I'm glad that people are talking about this because, look, on this channel I talk about some of the most hideous abuse. I talk about the grooming gangs, and those girls, they're often very young, they are raped, they are tortured, they are trafficked. It is the most hideous type of abuse. But of course, there are other types of predators as well. That isn't the only type of predator that exists. And yes, okay, this situation is not like that. But I still think it's predatory, and there's still people out there who behave like this and who decent people need to be keeping an eye on. Because, for example, in the UK, people will try and defend these questionable types of relationships using the age of consent, as I'm sure people have done with Lamine. So, for example, people will say, well, that 50-year-old man is not a predator or a PDF file for sleeping with a 16-year-old girl because the age of consent in the UK is 16. Now, I take issue with that. First of all, because in the UK, we agree that 16 is a kid. People agree with that. And a PDF file is somebody who likes kids. So if a PDF file is somebody who likes kids and a 16-year-old is a kid, what does that make the individual? I think you catch my drift with this. Just because it's legal, it doesn't mean that that's actually what it is, just because it isn't paedophilia in law. And also, people tend to think that the legal system is supposed to be this absolute reflection of morality and social morals. It isn't. It's not, both in its intentions and in its practice, how it actually comes into play in practice, as you see in the courts and in how legislation is drafted. For example, English common law was based on property rights, not human rights. But I'm going on a little bit of a tangent now. So you get where I'm coming from with this. There's a distinction between what is moral in law, even though the law does not strictly concern itself with morality, and what we as people consider moral. Because I think we have an understanding of what moral is without always having to look to the law. The law is meant to reflect us, not the other way around. And I will be the first to say it, the law fails us so many times in so many ways and continues to do so. It is not a perfect system. That is why we had the Court of the Star Chamber in medieval times, which was supposed to introduce fairness into the system, but it didn't. And again, I'm going on a tangent. But the point's made, there's a difference between the two. So I think most people will understand that really, to the ordinary person, you cannot defend an age gap of that type by saying, well, it's legal. But when you're failing, I guess it's the best defence that you've got. So considering this, I don't think this woman can really escape critique. She doesn't appear to have done by simply saying, well, this is legal. Because we all know that 17 is young, it's a kid. What can a 17-year-old boy have in common with a 29-year-old woman? Especially when boys often mature slower. The prefrontal cortex does not develop properly until you're 25. That's men and women. It's wrong. it's wrong and it's predatory, whether she really does like boys that age or whether she's after him for his money. It's still predatory, just in a slightly different way. And I think that these types of people need to be called out.